Once upon a time, there lived a king and a queen who had 3 beautiful daughters. The youngest was held the most beautiful in all the land. Her name was Psyche. Every day she was praised for her beauty, so much so that she was compared to the goddess of love, Aphrodite. Despite all her beauty, no man would dare approach her for her hand. Our story begins on Mount Olympus, home of the gods. Up in the clouds, Aphrodite felt slighted and sought to make her godly powers known.
Really now, whoever would have thought that I'd be treated like this? I, all the world's lovely Aphrodite, whom the philosophers call the universal mother, and the original source of all 5 elements. So I'm expected to share my sovereignty, am I, with a mortal who goes about pretending to be myself, and to watch my bright name, which is registered in heaven, being dragged through the dirty mud of earth. I'll very soon make her sick and sorry about her good looks.
Aphrodite summoned her winged son Cupid and asked him for a favor.
If you have any respect for me, you'll give me my revenge. Revenge in full. You'll see that the princess falls desperately in love with some perfect outcast of a man, someone who goes about in terror of his life, and in such complete degradation that nobody viler can be found in the whole world.
Back on Earth, Psyche's father was so distraught that he sought help from the oracle of Apollo, who advised him to give up hope and dress her for her funeral. Psyche was then left alone, weeping at the top of a mountain. Suddenly, a gentle west wind plucked her off the hillside and laid her to rest in a soft bed of flowers. Psyche finds herself no longer weeping for her old life. She falls into a sweet slumber, and upon her awakening, she stumbles upon a palace built for a god. Upon entering the palace, Psyche is comforted by invisible maids who welcome her and reassure her she is safe in her new home. Without her knowledge, the winged Cupid boy watches her and falls desperately in love. That night, and each after, Cupid became her lover. Every night they made love in the dark, and he made her promise to never attempt to uncover his identity. But such promises are made to be broken. Psyche spent each day alone and soon longed for a meeting with her sisters. Finally, Cupid allowed her sisters to visit the palace to ease Psyche's distress. Upon their visit, Psyche's sisters questioned her new lover's intentions. She lies to ease their concerns.
My lover is young and handsome. He is a hunter and is certainly an athlete.
Fearing any further questioning, Psyche filled their arms with gifts and sent them on their way. Soon, the sisters became eaten up with envy.
It's hardly fair that Psyche is joined to a rich and handsome man when I have a husband older than my father, balder than a pumpkin, and feebler than a child. Psyche must be made to realize that we're not her servants, but her elder sisters.
Their envy turned to suspicion when Psyche made up another story that conflicted with the first. They began to plot against her. That night, Cupid visits Psyche once more and tells her she is pregnant.
My love, though you are still only a child, you will soon have a child of your own, which shall be born divine if you keep our secret, but mortal if you divulge it.
With Cupid's stern warning, Psyche promises once again not to speak of the truth. With the excitement of her baby on the way, Psyche goes to tell her sisters the good news. When Psyche greets her sisters once more, she's overjoyed by the news of her unborn child. She forgets her lover's promise and spills the beans. Her sisters are shocked to hear she has no idea what he looks like, and attempt to warn her of what might become of her and her child.
Blood is thicker than water. The thought of your danger, my dear sister, makes us forget our own. In order to save your life, you must get a very sharp knife and a lamp filled full of oil. Hide behind the bedroom tapestry, and once your lover sleeps, plunge the knife down with all your strength and cut off his vile head by the light of the lantern. After that, we'll marry you to a decent human being.
With their advice in mind, Psyche was convinced of her lover's possible identity. Upon her return to the palace, she planned to complete their task. Back in her palace, night fell and her lover once again came to her bed. Psyche was not naturally very brave or strong, but grabbed hold of the lantern and held it above her sleeping lover. At once the secret was revealed. There she discovered the most beautiful, godlike creature she had ever seen. Cupid himself lay before her. She was so stunned, she fell to her knees and tried to hide the knife. Within moments, Cupid sprung up, spread his white wings and flew back up to the heavens. Just before deserting her forever, he shouts back,
O foolish Psyche, it is for your sake that I disobeyed the orders of my mother Aphrodite. This is the danger of which I warned you again and again, but your punishment will simply be that I'll fly away from you forever.
As he soared up into the air, Psyche clung to his ankles in desperation. When she lost her grip, she fell to the earth, conveniently at the home of one of her sisters. Psyche finally realizes that her sisters were plotting against her all along. As revenge, she tells one of them that Cupid desires her hand and that she must travel to the same hillside and fling herself off it, where the west wind will bring her to Cupid. Alas, the west wind did not lift her up, and Cupid did not come to her aid. Both sisters suffered the same vengeful fate. Psyche spends days longing for her lost lover. She finally travels to the temple of Aphrodite to beg for forgiveness. Aphrodite tormented Psyche, tearing her clothes, messing up her hair, beating her, even having her whipped, just as Hera persecuted Heracles, yet drove him into heroism. Aphrodite badgered Psyche, presenting her with a series of seemingly undoable tasks, which are the most important part of this heroine's journey. The goddess called for quantities of grain and mixed them all together.
You look such a dreadful sight, slave, that the only way that you're ever likely to get another lover is by hard work. So no, I'll test you myself, to find out whether you're industrious. Now sort out this pile into separate heaps and prove you're quick-fingered.
Fortunately, a parade of ants showed up to aid Psyche, and one by one carried each tiny seed to its proper place, thus bringing order to chaos. Then Aphrodite directed Psyche to retrieve some fleece from a wild herd of golden sheep, whose bite was said to be poisonous. Psyche, easily discouraged, was ready to commit suicide, but a green reed countered her patience. The reed instructed her to wait until the sheep left their grazing place, so she could find a few tufts of wool clinging to twigs. However, this second completed task did not impress Aphrodite. Her third task was to fill a crystal bottle with icy water from a river whose black waters were guarded by dragons. Psyche was once again aided by a spirit in the form of an eagle, who easily obtained the water for her. She returned with the bottle to Aphrodite, but could not appease her fury, even with this latest success. Aphrodite instructed her of her final task.
Take this box and go down to the underworld, to the death palace of Hades. Hand it to the queen Persephone and inform her of my compliments. Ask her to fill it with a bit of her beauty so that I may use her makeup before I appear tonight at the Olympic Theater.
Once again, Psyche considered suicide by attempting to fling herself off a tower, but the tower came to her aid and told her how to enter the underworld to complete her task. Upon visiting the queen, Psyche was reminded to politely refuse any gifts. Persephone filled the box with a bit of her beauty, and Psyche was on her way. However, she soon became tempted by its contents. When she made it safely back to the light of day, she gave in to her curiosity and peeked inside the box. Psyche fell into a sleep so deep she looked dead. Upon learning of his true love's plight, Cupid immediately rushed to her side. He scraped off the sleep and squeezed it back into the box. Then he woke her with a prick of his arrow. Cupid flew to Zeus for consult.
Well, I have decided, boy, that you must stop this nonsense. It is time to fasten the feathers of marriage securely upon you. You have found and seduced a pretty girl named Psyche, and my sentence is that you must have her, hold her, possess her, and cherish her for this time forth and forevermore.
Cupid flies once more to Psyche's side with a goblet in hand.
Drink, Psyche, and become an immortal. I will never fly away from your arms again, but now I must remain your lawful husband forever.
Soon Cupid and Psyche were wed. The wedding was attended by all the gods and goddesses, even the now tamed mother-in-law, Aphrodite. And they lived happily ever after.